Kirk Ferentz against PJ Fleck, two guys that do it completely differently. A good one on the field on Saturday. We get ready. It's Iowa, Minnesota for Floyd of Rosedale.
You are Locked On Hawkeyes, your daily podcast on the Iowa Hawkeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome in. I'm Trent, Condon, and this is the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast, your daily Iowa Hawkeye podcast. I've been covering the Hawkeyes for over 20 years on the radio, including currently on the Iowa Sports Radio Network, where you can hear me each weekday from noon to 2, talking plenty of Hawkeyes with you. The Iowa Sports Radio Network with stations in Des Moines, Sioux City, Iowa City, Cedar Rapids, and the Quad Cities. Today's episode of Locked On Hawkeyes is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Today, we're going to look forward. Basketball. Single game tickets are on sale and why we should be excited about some Iowa hoops, both men's and women's this year. We'll also talk with Elliot Clough from HawkeyeInsider.com. A look at what happened at the press conference in Iowa City on the player side of things. I talked with Elliot right after he wrapped things up, talking with Mark Gronowski, Xavier Wampa, and a few other players over in Iowa City. We begin today, though, with a look at Kirk Ferentz's press conference and what he had to say today at media availability, fresh off of that, as he took his half hour, as he does each and every week, talking with the Hawkeye media. I think a lot of important things, but I want to begin with the conversation that was right at the end. Scott Docterman asked him about his counterpart this weekend on the sideline, as it will be one of my least likable figures in college football, and that is Phil Fleck. PJ Fleck is a guy that throughout the years has always rubbed me the wrong way from the get-go. And I know there's plenty of people that like that shtick, that enjoy what he does of drumming up interest in Minneapolis and getting the program as much spotlight as they can in a major media market, playing in a major city. As a university, a city university, it can be difficult. And sometimes you need that carnival barker. And that's what he is. And all the cliches and all the football terms he throws out. And though all those things do bother me, they annoy me, I can't stand it. It's not my kind of guy. Not a guy that I think would be a fun hang. Still, there is a difference between Fleck and what we've seen with other guys. Other guys that have had this kind of personality, there's actually substance behind it. There's actually a real football coach. It's not just about that. It's not just about oars in the water, an elite, and all the terms that he used. That's not what it is only. There is real substance. And he's done an incredibly good job at Minnesota of making them year in and year out a tough out. They're not great. They're not elite. But what they are a solid, dependable program, very much like our Iowa Hawkeyes. They're not at the same level. They certainly have not had the highs, and the consistency is not quite there. But from what they were to what they have become, he has built a solid program. Who knows what the future entails for him? Seems like his name comes up quite often. People in the coaching community will say that his agent's always doing a lot of work, back channeling and seeing what's out there, what's available. And what looks to be one of the maybe most impactful hiring seasons that we've had in college football, with already all the firings that have happened, some major jobs open, places where you can win national championships, places that are going to spend money. And when those jobs are filled, then you have to backfill them with wherever the programs that these places have left for. So there's a lot there that is going to change things. And we'll see, maybe the musical chairs will end with Philip Fleck making his way to, say, LA, to UCLA. Possibility his name was bandied about the last time that job was open a couple of years ago before they gave it ultimately to Foster. But that aside, Fleck, as much as I dislike him, I don't like all the extra that goes along with it. I do have to give him credit that there is a football coach behind all the extras. And boy, do you got a lot of extras there. I did think it was funny. So Scott Docterman brings up Fleck at the end, and you can think he's putting together an article over at The Athletic, probably talking about these two coaches and certainly doing it differently and with much different personalities. And he also brought up, Scott Docterman did, that Fleck still has up in his office his rejection letter to be a grad assistant under Kirk Ferentz. Thought that one was interesting. Now, there hasn't been many successes in this series for the Gophers. And us as Hawkeye fans love that. This is my favorite rivalry game. This is the game for me that matters the most. I have family in Minneapolis. I have cousins that went to the U. I grew up going to this game. This was, and this still for me, is the most important. Plus, we're playing for a bronze pig. We're playing for the best college football rivalry trophy that you're going to find. And because of that, I always have a little bit more juice for this game, for this. And it does seem like Kirk, he likes this one too. And of course, we go back to 2 years ago and why Phil Fleck got his only win in this series as the head coach at Minnesota, and the way that game played out, and Cooper DeJean, and the invalid fair catch, and everything that went along with it. We know, again, Hawkeye fans, you're going to be bringing it. And as we sit here, recording on a Tuesday afternoon, right after the press conference goes final, you can still hear it in my voice. I'm still feeling it from Saturday night at Kinnick Stadium. I'll bring it again. Bring that same passion. Bring that same loudness. Bring what Kinnick Stadium is. And remember how it ended the last time at Kinnick against the Gophers. Because that was a tough one to swallow, as we all know. A couple other notes for you from Kirk Ferentz's press conference. We'll hear a little bit from Elliot Clough. He was there for the players coming up here in just a little bit. Starting with Mark Gronowski. And, his health, what that's going to obviously be going forward. It's still a great unknown. There were pictures that were circulating on social media from a bunch of the guys that were there that showed he had some K-tape on the legs, maybe a little bit of swelling in the ankles. I don't think anybody can definitively say. I don't think Mark Gronowski can say. I don't think the doctors can say, what he is going to be and what a return, what health-wise is going to be and what 100% is going to be for him going forward. But to put together that kind of performance with your legs, do it with that leg brace, I now know that you're going to have to build on things. Kirk was asked about Gronowski. He talked a ton about his leadership, and I think we can read into that the leadership that they had before at the quarterback spot with the last transfer quarterback and Cade McNamara compared to what they have now in Mark Gronowski. Talked about him blending it well and a lot of good on the positives on that side. Another component I thought was interesting, he was asked about TJ Hall. TJ Hall is not demonstrative. He's not a rah-rah kind of guy. He is a guy that just goes about his work. He's kind of like a couple of guys in that secondary that are that way, including another one we'll talk about coming up here in Xavier Wampa. But when it came to TJ Hall, he talked about interceptions not telling the whole story of what makes a good cornerback. Yeah, he said he'd like to use that. But I also thought it was interesting that he brought up Deshaun Lee and the job he's doing. Last year's cornerback play for Iowa was as bad as it's been. And we saw blown coverages. We saw all kinds of issues. And now what it's turned into this year has been at minimum solid. And you can make an argument even higher than that. With Hall, with what we've seen from Lee, and though his role is not full-time, what a good job he has done, and certainly building and the performances that he's been able to make. Now we've seen Zach Lutmer playing cornerback along with his responsibilities, cash, safety, all the different things that he's doing out there. Last year was awful for Iowa standards. Most teams wouldn't look at that maybe as awful. In cornerback play, it was. And we heard it during the spring, and it's continued. TJ Hall has really put it together. A question was also asked about the offensive line and the way they come together this year. Another good performance on Saturday against Penn State and a talented front, even with the losses. That still team, it's got a lot of dudes over there. And talking about rebuilding this offensive line with George Barnett, another guy that was much maligned. And it felt like with good reason. I mean, the offensive lines just were not up to par, and certainly what our expectations are. But what he's been able to do in the development, and maybe his greatest thing that we've seen this season, we know at minimum they're going to be good at center, right? And probably better than that with Logan Jones. And Jennings Dunker is going to be doing Jennings Dunker things and mauling people and doing what he does on the right side. Pieper, we had high hopes. We saw him. He was a 6th offensive lineman last year. He was a guy that he thought at minimum was going to be solid. And Bo Stevens has started 20-some games coming into the year. But to take Trevor Lauck, who had minimal experience, a redshirt sophomore, and turn him into what he has turned into, or not only is he not the weak link of this team, it's a strength. He was the highest graded guy on the offensive line last week by Pro Football Focus. Trevor Lauck has taken a big step. And George Barnett, he talked about, Kirk did, that, yeah, he knew he had some guys that probably played before they were ready for it. But what a great job that he has done. And he also talked about something that I know I overlook, and I think a lot of us fans overlook from time to time. He talked about what a great teacher that he was. And that goes hand in hand with what we talked about in the reaction podcast after the Penn State win. Those little things, those minute details, the small things that Iowa football does day in and day out. We got to be a good teacher to have those parlay and go across. A couple other questions on the injury front. I was asked about Jaden Harrell, who returned last week. Kirk just said, we'll see as it pertains who's going to start between Harrell and Montgomery. I think most of us would like to see Montgomery remain in that role. I don't think he's done anything, certainly, to lose it. And some people say he can't lose a job to injury. I think that's poppycock. I don't think that makes a whole lot of sense. At tight end, we saw Vanami, who had to leave the game, the tight end, early in that football game against Penn State. Kirk said he's out of the sling. They're hopeful there. Another interesting note on the tight ends, he talked about what a good job that Hayden Large is doing, but also, how about this? True freshman Thomas Meyer, maybe getting close to getting out there, and Kirk mentioned maybe getting him some snaps on the game. Really love the upside of Thomas Meyer. Super athletic kid. Really could be a playmaker in that game, and getting back to the prototype of what we've been used to, certainly historically in the Kirk Ferentz era at the tight end position. So a couple of takeaways for you from Kirk Ferentz's press conference from today. Let's go to the player side of things. Elliot Clough was there for 24/7 Sports. We'll get his perspective on what he heard from Mark Gronowski, Xavier Wampa, and a whole lot more as we continue on the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. Let's be honest, most of us can't even name all of our financial accounts, let alone what they're worth. Between 401ks, savings, and investments, it's easy to lose track, and that can mean leaving money on the table. That's why I started using Monarch, an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. I love seeing everything that our family has, where my wife and I can put it all together. She's a teacher. I work in radio. I'm a small business owner. We're trying to figure out what's going on, but maybe most importantly, seeing what our goals are. What does retirement look like? What does down the road look like? You can do that and do it smarter with Monarch. Monarch's visual dashboards and smart tools make it easier to understand where my money's going, where my family's money's going, and how to make it work harder for me. Don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarch.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarch.com with the code LOCKEDONCollege for first off your first year. Monarch.com. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season, it rolls on, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. You got it. You just pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. The FanDuel app is great to use. It is so functional. You can get point spreads early on Saturday before anybody else has them up for the following week. You can jump aboard with that. They got their games of the year, a great futures menu. They got you covering the NFL. How about putting together a same game parlay, put a bunch of legs on there, and maybe you can turn a little into a lot. It all makes watching football even more exciting when you got a little something riding on the action. And whether you're a casual fan or love diving deep into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. FanDuel.com.
Let's get to Elliot Clough, HawkeyeInsider.com, part of 24/7 Sports. Hello, Elliot. Thank you, as always, for doing this. Who did you meet with here earlier today? And a takeaway or two. I forgot to look at the media availability. Was Gronowski available today?
He was. Yep. Spoke with him, spoke with Xavier Wampa, and then Caden Weegan as well.
Oh, pretty good trio. Good trio. Well, let's start with the quarterback. And obviously, It was really good to see. I think Hawkeye fans needed that after the last couple of years. Is still the passing ability not quite where he wants it to be? I'm sure the success, I guess, with the passing the football, but boy, oh boy, it was good to see him using his legs. How did he come out of the game?
Yeah, regarding the passing game, I think everybody's on the same page that it's not where it needs to be. But again, I don't know if you saw my tweet either, you guys, but Mark mentioned it today too. He finished 9 of 10 to finish the game.
Mm-hmm.
9 of 10 for 56 yards, only 2 passes in the second half, which according to the guys that we talked to, and I mean, everybody could see it with their eyes, the run game was working pretty damn well in the second half. So really no need to go through the air at that point. But Mark seems like he's continuing to on a good trajectory going forward health-wise. I know you guys asked, it was either last week or a couple weeks ago, about where he's at in his health and if there's a possibility he's going to be back at 100%. I did ask him that question today, and he said he's hoping he's back at 100% by the Oregon game on November 8th. He didn't say the Oregon game, but that's where things are at. Hoping that bye week helps him continue to rehab and get back at 100%. He said he has been moving forward. He did say as well that he felt like initially when the injury was happening, he wasn't able to follow through quite as well on all of his throws. But now it's just about being on the same page with all the receivers and such in the passing game, and maybe getting a little bit more comfortable early on, and that goes for them as well. So a couple different things from Mark there, and hoping that he's healthy, and then just continuing to get on the same page as his receivers through the air.
Xavier Wampa maybe had his best game in a Hawkeye uniform. Not only that, he was doing it with blood coming out of his ear. What stitches that got ripped off during the course of the game. I saw the video that you had up there, Elliot. That doesn't look pretty on the ear of Wampa.
No. He said he lost count on how many stitches that they put in there after the game too. So yeah, they're just in there during the game trying to put extra padding on there to stop the bleeding. And I guess they're going to change his helmet to give him a little bit bigger of a helmet, and then tie down or tighten down a screw or something like that. He said had some things to figure out equipment wise, but the staff's working on it. He said he should be good to go from here, but I guess we'll see, because that's 2 games in a row where he had a rip in his ear after the game. I was like, you just hitting people too hard? He goes, I guess. So I guess they just gotta figure out the equipment stuff there for X.
And Caden Weegan was also part of the media availability today. He continues to move up the ranks, I think, as to where he ranks in the Ferentz era amongst kick returners. He's so darn gifted, and I love the fact that Lester's now incorporating him more in the offense. Does he even want to get more involved? It was up to him.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he would want the ball every play if it was up to him. But I know getting the ball in the backfield is basically a running back. A scatty, speedy running back in the backfield has been something that he's really liked. It was a conversation he and Lester had a few weeks ago. And they're happy to keep it rolling. It's been working. Weegan actually said he played running back in high school. So he said it's been sort of a seamless transition. He's still that return man, being the midseason watch list for the Jet Award and winning it last year. That's still his specialty. But yeah, I didn't know he played running back in high school. Didn't know that until today. And then of course became a receiver at Iowa Western and then here at Iowa. But yeah, they're using him a lot out of the backfield, and they're happy to keep it going. Mix things up too. Mm-hmm. Like when you're running the ball that well, teams are going to figure out a way to stop you. You're going to load the box and such, but his speed and ability to get to the outside really adds another layer to this offense, especially when they're not passing the ball particularly well. So this is really an intriguing addition, a new layer to this offense that Lester has figured out.
The battle for the pig this week, Minnesota, and you saw the return of Darius Taylor last week. And as he goes, certainly this Minnesota team goes. What did the guys have to say about the Gophers matchup this week playing for the pig?
Yeah, expectations are that it's going to be physical. I actually had this conversation with my fiance the other night about Darius Taylor. Watching the Nebraska-Minnesota game, is that he's always really good, and then they play Iowa, and he's not very good anymore. Seriously, go back and look at the stats. I don't know that he's done much of anything against Iowa in his career with Minnesota. Last year, of course, the Caleb Johnson game, but one thing that Logan Jones has said, and Xavier Wampa said for that matter, is it's one of the more physical games that they play all year. And they're playing in the Big Ten, so things are going to be physical, but this is a rivalry. This is a game where both teams want to come home with with the trophy, and yeah, they're not messing around. I mean, the history is there with this rivalry, especially going back 2 years ago, and I'm sure the Hawks want to avenge that game, especially in Kinnick Stadium.
What did you think? We got like 30 seconds left. What did you think of Drake Lindsay when you were watching the football game?
Well, I only got to watch like one or two clips because I had to head out and watch some high school football for Prep Red Zone. But I have heard some good things. I haven't watched him too much extensively. That'll be something I do a little bit more of this week. What did you guys?
I was really impressed.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
You know where he's going to be. He's going to be in the pocket. He's not a threat to run, but he can sling it a little bit. And the Trent's right. It's like 6'5", 6'6".
Kind of Nate Stanley like.
Yeah, good. That's a good one. That's good. Good stuff. Elliot, we're out of time, buddy. Thanks for doing this. As always, I just looked at your picture of Wampa's ear, man. Oh, my God. Nasty. Good stuff.
Yeah,
Elliot,
yeah.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, talk to you next week. Elliot Clough, 24/7 Sports, HawkeyeInsider.com, as he updates us on what's going on this morning in Iowa City.
Thanks, as always, to Elliot Clough for joining us, and you can check out all his work, HawkeyeInsider.com. So good stuff from Iowa City and the players. And, one takeaway going through and listening to a bunch of the interviews today is they know what they're in for. They know this is going to be a physical game. You go back to a season ago, Iowa had the big comeback in the second half as Caleb Johnson got rolling in that one. We talked about the Cooper DeJean game from 2 years ago. It's going to be physical. It's going to be tough. Got to be ready to go, and you got a bye week after that. So lay it out on the field, keep the pig, and let's get the victory. And let's get win number 6 of the year. We'll continue breaking this game down all throughout the week. But coming up next, we got some news for you. Iowa basketball single game tickets are on sale, and why you should be excited about this squad. That's all coming up next on the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. College football is here, and we couldn't be more excited, right? The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands. Oh, you could feel that Saturday at Kinnick. There's just nothing like it. But let's be real, actually getting tickets can feel more of a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, and prices jumping at checkout. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. Taking a look at the FanDuel, the Game Time app, and right now on Game Time, you can find a myriad of great deals. You want to get your way into Kinnick Stadium. You want to see Floyd of Rosedale in person. This is your opportunity with some great ones. And the app is super simple. You can see exactly where you're going to be inside the stadium before you buy. It's cheaper, faster, and less stressful than any other way that I have bought tickets. And I love no surprise fees at checkout. A huge one for me and the Game Time app. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Trent Condon back with you one final time on the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. Thanks for being with us and making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. A big thank you to everydayers with us each and every day. Love having you aboard with us and couldn't do it without you. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit subscribe. That's how you'll know wherever we're available. If you're on the podcast side, 5-star reviews and all of that helps us get in front of more Hawkeye fans. So single game tickets are available. I've already been scouring, looking for opportunities to go over with the little ones. Take Jack over there, my son. Go over with the family, go over with the buddies, make the trip here from where I'm located in central Iowa. Wintertime, weather can be a bit dicey, but the good news is a lot of weekend games, a lot of Saturday games, something that I hadn't been there for a number of years, and some fun opportunities. In this new Big Ten, the new look Big Ten this season, there's going to be some big time games. And, the difference between this year and the Big Ten finishing 13-7, 12-8, and maybe on the outside looking in the NCAA tournament, just going to be maybe a game or two for so many of these teams. It feels like there is a big bunch of teams. So make sure you get out there, get your Hawkeye tickets. Speaking of tickets and availability, also make sure that you take a look at the Iowa baseball schedule. That has also come out. Happy to see for me, selfishly, that they're coming back to Des Moines again this season for a series. A year ago, as they took on Oregon State. This year, it'll be a Big Ten matchup, as when Purdue comes to the state, they'll be playing that one at Principal Park. But the schedule is out. Of course, it'll begin with a lot of games down in the South and playing in the warm weather before they'll get ready to get the schedule ramped up this season. And big expectations again, a lot of new faces on this Iowa baseball team. But boy, what they've been able to do year in and year out, 10 consecutive Big Ten tournament appearances for them. Something unthinkable for a long time with Iowa baseball, and Coach Heller has been able to do that. We'll be back with you tomorrow here with more on Locked On Hawkeyes. We'll take our final peek back at the win against Penn State and start to dive a little bit deeper into the matchup with the Gophers coming up this week. We got you covered, of course, on the Hawkeye front, but not only that, we have more for you here. For your second listen, make sure you check out Locked On Big Ten. Craig Sheeman breaks down the most exciting conference in college sports, from the rivalries, championship games, and everything in between. You can find Locked On Big Ten on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts, all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We will be back with you tomorrow as we are your daily Iowa Hawkeye podcast. Until then, go Hawks.